Welcome to The Truth in Its Art, your source for conversations on arts and culture. I'm your host, Rob Lee, and I want to extend the warmest of welcomes to my next guest, a talented visual artist from Ol'Kalou, Kenya, who currently resides in Baltimore and is studying painting, business, and film at the Maryland Institute College of Art. Please welcome TOSKAGO. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you on. Happy to be able to be in this conversation and learn a bit about you, your work, your background. And in that vein, we're going to start out with this question. I think this question is going to be a sort of, it's going to take you back, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the origin story, what have you, a little bit. I like to get the origin story of the guests, some of the early examples of their creative interests. Mm-hmm. So could you share a bit about your background and some of your interests growing up and maybe some of the ones that kind of show up in your work today?
Yeah. I think if we wanted to go with like the origin story, besides just the art thing, because I picked up like art and like painting a lot later in my life, sure. But I feel like everything beforehand kind of led into the way that I make my stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The origin story is that I'm originally from Kenya, Africa. I grew up in this like little town. It's called, I guess it's a village more. It's called Ol'Kalou. Shout out to Ol'Kalou. If anybody from Ol'Kalou is listening, the 4,000 people that live there. My cousins, honestly. Shout out to them. I grew up there. I used to work on a farm with my grandparents and my mom and my dad. Well, my dad was like a truck driver and everything like that, but I used to just be on the farm, like tending to the cows and everything. Eventually we ended up like, miraculously winning the green card lottery, and we moved out to the United States like a year after that. I think at this time I was probably like about like 6 or 7. I remember like it was the time when like we were hearing more news about Obama because he's like half Kenyan. So everybody in Kenya was like, yo, we got one. We made it. Yeah, type stuff. He's even from a different tribe, but we were still claiming him like, yo, it's nationality today. It ain't about no tribe, ethnicity, bro. What are you talking about? He's as Kenyan as me. But yeah, so I think when I first got to America, I started getting into a lot of science stuff like really early on because I would watch PBS. Like, since we didn't have like, okay, we were broke coming here because like we got here on the green card lottery. So it's not like we had any money to afford to move here. Sure. So we had to do like a lot of fundraising. So when we moved here, we ended up living with some this dude who was like friends with my mom's friend who's also a secretary. Like, it's a stupid connection. It's wild that we even found a place to live. I'm not gonna lie. That's also another blessing. But we ended up like moving into his house, and whenever we got our own place, like a little after my job, my dad found a job. I would watch a lot of like cable news networks, like PBS and everything, and there would be a lot of science stuff, like a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I would get into that like during my youth. And eventually I wanted to become like a quantum physicist. Like that was my goal for a while. Yeah. I was even a math tutor. I was taking physics when I was in high school. They didn't offer it at my school because they don't care about poor people. So I had to get in cahoots with my teacher, my counselor, to get me to take like college courses and everything like that for it. And it was dope. But eventually, this is the art origin story now. Eventually, senior year, I'm taking my I think this is my third ever art class ever, but it was a drawing based class, so it wasn't painting just yet. And in that class, I've always been kind of a fast drawer, I guess just a little faster than some of the people around me. So I finished the projects really quickly, and then what happens when you don't got nothing to do? You playing with your friends, you goofing off. So me and the friends were just we're rap battling, roasting. It's really annoying. Now that I think about it from my perspective now, older, I'm like, dang, my teacher was really having it, bro. We were really not doing anything. But eventually, now since I understand her mentality, I can think back to why my teacher eventually went off on me. She was like, Martin, man, you just keep distracting your friends. What are you doing in this class? And I'm like, you need to find something to do. And I'm like, bro, I finished the project. What are you talking about? I don't got nothing else to do. It's like, yeah, but your friends did it and you're wasting time. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I don't have anything to do. And she's like, why don't you paint? And I'm like, what? This is a weird thing to suggest to me right now. And then I tell her, I'm like, bro, I don't have any paints. Like, what do you want me to do? And she's like, I actually just got like a gift. She just got a gift from her like dad or whatever, of like oil paints, like artist grade oil paints, just the previous like Christmas. And she was like, you can use my paints because I'm not planning on using them, because she does like acrylic mostly. And I'm like, dang, I really got no excuse for real, dang. You know what I mean? Like I can't say that. Like she provided me with everything. So I take her paints and I get like a canvas, and that's where it started. Like, and it's just been that until right now that we're talking about art. Now, yeah, that's when I realized I was like, I really like doing this art stuff, and she wouldn't help me. Like, she was like, she made it a point, like, yo, you got to learn this by yourself. You were really making an issue for me. I'm gonna make an issue for you. Like, I'd be like, yo, how do I blend? Like, how do I paint people? And she's like, you got to figure that out. And so everything that I do has really been like intuitive since then. Yeah, but I've treated it like, honestly, like a science, because I was really into quantum physics. So I was like, okay, bro, I'm gonna experiment, and then, yeah. But
No, that's great, and I think I definitely relate to the sort of, here's this opportunity, you're doing all of this other stuff. I wasn't in there like cutting up with my friends or anything, but I was doing kind of my own thing, and it's like, and it was creative, right? And it was just like, yeah, I'm going to help you kind of move forward with this, but initially I'm not really for it. I'm not really for you not working on what you should be working on at that time. So, if you will, you touched on like, coming here, green card lottery, being an immigrant. So talk about like some of the experiences like you had, like having that sort of background, coming here, and kind of like in what ways that comes out in your art, like what ways it kind of shape you as an artist.
I think like my whole artistic practice is really centered around the idea of identity. And I think that centering of identity comes from the issues that I've had with it being an immigrant. Like, the thing about, like, for a lot of immigrants, like if you're coming from somewhere like, I guess, like Ukraine or Russia, or like you're the UK or something like that, when you are assimilating into American culture, you're assimilating into like the like pillars of white supremacy. Like, you are the regular now. Once you lose your accent and everything like that, you fit the demographic of everyone else. But like when I moved to America, I was assimilating. I was struggling to assimilate. First, now I'm being viewed as an African because I don't know how to speak English for real. People are like making fun of me because I have a stutter now. My teachers are tripping out. But eventually, like once I got a hold of it, I'm still only and not to like say like I'm only because I love being black, but like now I'm being put into like the bottom rung in society for real, because like I assimilated, but now everybody just views me as like, oh, you're an African American, and they're gonna treat you badly because that's how they treat like and they treat a lot of African Americans. So I think like that sort of pain that I had of trying to sort of change myself or shift myself to fit into a mold that I wasn't really a part of, like trying to like speak differently so I can like fit in with like the like white people or whatever, or like trying to change my accent or trying to act a certain way so that people won't treat me differently. That was like a whole arc of struggle for me, and that's really what I've been like delving into with my like work recently, like really unpacking that, because I think that's an issue that a lot of people have, because even if you don't have that whole immigrant side to you, like just being black, like trying to work into like any even artistic spaces, just any like higher spaces, you do get that feeling a lot of times that people are like scrutinizing your actions a lot more, like the way that you're talking, or if you got a little slang too, you know what I mean, like people are gonna like be like, oh man, he's uneducated, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So even if you don't have that immigrant side too, you still understand that pain of trying to assimilate to a society that almost doesn't want you, that wasn't built around you.
No, I hear that. And I think there is this sort of fetishistic thing that goes on as well. Of if you're dressed almost as a caricature of what they think this person should be, then it's like, oh yeah, this is other somehow, so this is special.
This is
like,
unique.
But it's like, is the work good? Like, this is gonna sound ridiculous. I want to dress as a black man, right? As a large black man. I want to dress like a Russian person. I want to have like the bulge. I want to have the whole fit.
With the hat.
Yes. And I just want to see like what people do with that. It's like, I want to just take on the characteristics of, was it Inuit? I want to have all of the things just to see is like, oh yeah, we really think your work is this. It's talking about
they're gonna
the
start
diaspora in this way.
Yeah, they're like, that reminds me of this thing that I've heard. Bro, you know how many people have come up to me like mentioning some random tribe in Africa like that I'm not a part of. Like, bro, I'm straight up from there. Like, you could mention my ethnicity, but no, you're bringing up some random thing I've never heard about. Like, oh yeah, I see how you played with these elements in this painting, and you know that they're just bringing that up because they know that you're African. Like, they're like, oh yeah, bro, I'm gonna flex this knowledge that I got now, and I'm like, okay, bro.
They get this dossier that has like your background, and it's like, oh, let me do this search real quick.
Yeah.
I just in Chat GPT and see what I can find about this. Yeah.
Chat GPT how to speak with an immigrant. Yeah.
Yo. So storytelling is kind of baked within your work, and what I'm reading, I see, background in film, background business, background, and obviously in painting. Yeah. So, like why the visual is the sort of medium that you want to work in and that you're exploring your storytelling in?
I think that storytelling is one of those core elements of my like tribe Kikuyu culture. So that's how I've really engaged with the world since I was a really young person and everything. Like, it's through stories that my grandparents and my parents like taught me about how to interact with certain circumstances, or in certain instances what type of person I should be. And I felt like that really like built my core as a human being, and it's helped me interact with people a lot. You know what I mean? Like, just having these stories and then trying to make my own stories to teach other people about certain things. I think that was like a really big part. So I knew from the beginning, like, I always wanted to include storytelling into like whatever art form that I wanted to create. And when I found visual arts, I found that was probably like the most, I guess, I'll explain a little more, but I guess it's the most sincere way and the easiest way for me to communicate the stories that I wanted to communicate. Because that's the thing, like, with language, I had such a difficult time with that. Like, speaking and finding the words to articulate how I'm feeling in any certain instance, I had such a difficult time with that because I was coming in it. I was already like 3 languages deep when I came into America trying to learn English. You know what I mean? So I'm like, but the times that I felt really connected to other people, even though we had this language barrier, was when we were watching a movie or something like that, or like a short story, or when we were looking at like a cartoon or a comic book. I felt like when we saw this image together, even though we were worlds apart on like on a language spectrum, we were right there with each other on a mental note. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with painting, like capture my mind, because that's something that we don't get a hold of really, like you never think about that really. Like, I'm going and I'm speaking to people primarily based on faith. Like, you tell me your name is Rob and I'm like, okay, this dude's name is Rob because he said that. But I don't know, in your head you could be like, no, my name is really Henry. Like, but I just have to like I really just gotta go off of that. But with visual art, you have this unique circumstance where you can take something that you are feeling intrinsic and alone and isolated in your mind and bring that out to the world, so that they can see that and experience it with you. So I think that's why I gravitated towards visuals as my storytelling medium. And I always loved movies, so I'm like, I want to make that, and I want to make the paintings feel cinematic, you know what I mean, like all of that. I want to connect the universe, all of that.
Yeah, I'm a carefully constructed performance artist. That goes by Henry. That's what I'm doing moving forward.
Yo, I love it. Yeah, I love it. So we just discovered it.
So this is actually a thing it's come up after you mentioned the language thing, right? So, in what ways, like, do you feel like being like a polyglot, like having multiple languages kind of like influences maybe your approach to your creativity, to art, to film? And I say that because I think here there's elements of culture that kind of go away because we don't value words. We use certain words in the wrong way, and that becomes what the definition of it is versus the history and so on that's associated with it. And we like to make up words and things of the sort. And sometimes they can have great meaning, what have you, but it's really interesting, like what we do and how we play with words. So from the perspective of someone that knows multiple languages, how does that kind of like play? Like how does like the power of having so many different understanding of languages play in your work?
I think it's really drilled in me the idea that sometimes you need a different tool to express something. There's certain words in like English that aren't able to capture like the wealth of feeling that I have in like a word that I know in Kikuyu or Swahili or something. You know what I mean? So it's taught me like, okay, in this instance, when I'm making a certain art piece or whatever, I think I might need to do this with oil paint, or I might need to do this with acrylic because I can get a different effect, or I might not even need to make a painting. It might be a drawing or a film, or maybe just even like it needs sound or something like that.
Yeah.
Because all of these different things will help me express that vision to the highest amount. And I think that's something that I learned a lot when I was like learning languages. I'm like, dang, like there's really a lot that I want to say and I just don't know how to say it with this certain tongue, this certain tool,
Yeah.
or I could say it this way, but it'll be mistaken as something else, or
Yeah.
like there's a lot of room for you to not understand it. And I think like that really helped me out with getting out of, because I feel like when you only know English or like you only know one thing your whole life, it's really hard to venture out of different things. Like, okay, I've only been painting my whole life, so like that's the only way I think I can communicate this idea, or like it has to be 2D, or it has to be realistic, or it has to be abstract or something like that, and that's the only way I can communicate this idea. But once you've had like any sort of like understanding of something outside of yourself, you can begin to get at it from different angles. Like, maybe this won't work this well with this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think an interesting thing to kind of dovetail and add to that is we, especially now, we don't do nuance well or discourse well. We don't really dive for sort of understanding. We need to have, in many instances, not all.
Yeah.
We need to have that full thing spoon fed to us. This is what this is.
Yeah.
Write a grant once in a while, and you'll see like, oh, I have to really dumb down what my intent is, and for whatever reason. And it's not a shot. It's just like I'm kind of scaling down what this intent is. And it's not something that should be scaled down. It's something that should be bucketed in that way.
Yeah, exactly. No, I feel you. Because I felt like that a lot with just, like even just the idea of learning English. There was a lot of times where like I didn't have the vocabulary to like communicate myself in certain instances. And then like there's this moment where you almost freeze because you're like, I want to say something to you, but like I don't know how to say this to you. You know what I mean? And there does come a time like where you have to like get to the bare bones of like exactly what you're talking about, because a lot of people won't understand it. Like, well, they won't come to you with a lot of, and I think that's something that's been brought to us a lot by like the internet. Like, I hate to say it, but like there's just so many platforms where you're very limited on how much you can say, and like it's not discussion based. Like if it was like a forum or something like that, then I'm like, okay, well, we can really talk our talk real quick. Or if it's something like this where we're having a genuine conversation, like there's time for you to like hear what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, and then take it a certain way. But like, bro, if I'm writing a comment on TikTok about something, and like you're replying to it and you only got like 100 characters to use for real, like, bro, this is gonna turn out terrible because like we don't really know exactly what each other are trying to say in any moment.
It's like, here's an emoji. That's all I got for you.
And then like
here's 4 flame emojis and mind blown or whatever. And I'll say this before we move into this next question. I think it's interesting. In this sort of day job professional life outside of the podcast, I recently applied for a job in the in the education sphere, and I remember in the interview, and maybe it's just preference or what have you, but it felt a little trolly. So yeah, can you just tell us about your background? And I've been a data professional for like 15 years, but like, can you like really break it down in like 30 seconds?
Like, what are you talking about?
It's like, how, son? Like, what are you asking me?
Yeah, so like, 15 years and 30 seconds. Like, I feel like a lot of people, when they'll ask you a question and they haven't thought about it in their head before they ask it, like, they haven't thought, man, how would I answer this question? Because what are you talking about right now?
Because
15
it
years of my
sounded
life.
cool in his head, and it was
Yeah.
not. It's not like you don't mean this,
Yeah,
and
you're not actually asking me that question because, like, there's no way you think I'm gonna be able to sum up 15 years of experience in 30 seconds. You're crazy. Yeah.
is that, and I think the other side of it, and having a conversation about some of the just like some of the sort of vague ways we talk about art, we talk about fundraising, arts advocacy, administration support, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's this like purposely vague like conversations. I think it's somewhere like, what's the intent? Are you being kind of like to the point? Are you speaking in like plain language? And, I think that's sort of the conversations that go around like this whole universe of art, especially locally.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So the symbolism, right? Let's talk about the symbolism in your work, or what have you. Obviously thought provoking. It's definitely, again, with this sort of discourse conversation, I would imagine it definitely sparks a conversation. So could you share some insights into how you convey sort of these themes around race, around violence, addiction within your art?
I think this isn't recent because this is something that I've been doing for a while. I've just kept it hidden. There's like a character in my like overarching story or whatever, and he's a devil, but you haven't, up until like recently, within like the canon of my paintings and my like films or whatever, you haven't seen this character without their like hood on, because they've been wearing it this entire time. And within these paintings, I've been like trying to illustrate their backstory of like, why do they wear a hood? Like, why are they always wearing this cloak? What are they covering? What are they hiding? And what they've been covering had been like horns, or like the remnants of horns that they've been cutting off. And I think I found this imagery because I was really trying to think, once again, like, about my identity, and I was really trying to think about what it felt like to be Black and be an immigrant growing up, and like trying to navigate that identity and how people view that identity apart from your own intrinsic view of yourself. And the way that I found it was like the metaphor of, imagine if you were born with two horns in a world that hated devils. You haven't done anything to anyone in your entire life. Like, you're just chilling, you're just born and you look this certain way. But because you look a certain way, there are people who are going to come at you and view you with all different types of like malice and stereotypes. And they're going to treat you a certain way because of the way that you look. And it's that sort of pain of, when you're young, not being able to understand, like, why is everybody doing this, and then eventually realizing, it's because I don't look like everybody else. This is why like people are doing this. And that's why I got it. Like, and the pain of it was almost like cutting off that horn. This is a part of you, like an actual part of you that has nerves and everything, but it's this grueling process of like, I'm gonna, like, I need to fit into this world. I'm sick of being treated differently because I look like whatever, and I just want to be the same. And eventually he does that, but like, or actually in the paintings, it's like, it's this sort of, you don't know what he does. And it's like, you're looking into his mind space, and it's this time. Dang, I'm sorry. This is Baltimore. I don't know if you can hear the yeah. There's always some type of siren going on. But yeah, so like, it's kind of this idea of, there comes a time where you have to make that choice of whether you're going to keep on doing this, keep trying to assimilate, and keep bringing yourself this pain, because the horns are going to grow back. Like, you're never going to be able to hide the fact that you're Black. You know what I mean? Like, you were brought up this way, your family's this way. So like, that's imbued into your essence. So eventually these horns are going to grow back, and you have to keep on going through that pain. Or are you going to be like, or I just have to accept who I am, and I have to love myself for that. Like, dog, like, why am I hating on being Black? Being Black is amazing. Like, why am I? Yeah, I'm really stressed about this. We're making original stuff. I'm making, like, all of that. Like, it's beautiful. Like, I'm really tripping. And that's the kind of realization I had, and that's what I've been trying to portray. That sort of like with my latest paintings, I've called it the Negro's dilemma, because it's like, it's this dilemma that you come across. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with my Blackness? And what am I going to do about that moving forward, you know?
For a moment there when you mentioned horns, I started thinking of two things. I thought of Hellboy briefly, because that's the thing that's happening.
Yeah. That's true. That's a Hellboy imagery.
And then also there's this movie, Cold Horns, actually, that Daniel Radcliffe is in.
Yeah, I came up with this painting idea independently of that movie, and then once because I made a short film that I'm probably I'm finishing up editing. I'm probably gonna be posting soon, so hopefully you see it. You know, tell me what you think. But after I was showing my friend, and they were like, "Dude, have you ever seen this movie Horns?" And I'm like, "What? No." But I feel like, okay, Daniel Radcliffe, he's not black. You know, it's a whole different movie. It's a whole different. Different idea, same tool, same. You know, it's like we're speaking the same language. Yeah, but we're saying different things.
So give us a glimpse, a taste, if you will, into your creative process. I mean, it's a lot that's baked into what someone does. So really being able to share that, and you know, some of the things that inspire you, like where are the ideas. Like, I'm sitting here, you know what? I need to sketch this out. I need to write this idea out, and then I'm going to make it into a painting. I'm going to put it as a theme into a film, and so on. Talk about your process a bit.
I think like a lot of times I get my ideas from it's two main ways. All right. With paintings, I like to really lose myself within like the canvas that I'm working on. So I'll get like I've been working a lot in wood recently, so I'll get like a piece of wood and like I don't even know, like it's some like weird like mental thing or whatever, but I'll like sit in a room alone. Like I'll have my canvas like placed away from me, and then I'll sit in a chair across from it, and then I'll just look at the blank image until like it almost speaks to me or something like that, until like I can get some sort of like image of what I think should fit onto here. And the reason I do that is because like I've always been like, my grandma was always like, yo, the way that I tell these stories, the way that these stories come about is like it's the rhythm of your soul, you know? So I feel like with these paintings, if I really want to illustrate like how I'm feeling or get some real intense emotion out of it, like it has to be something that's directly coming from like this space with me and just this work. That's one way that I do it. And it kind of runs like, it's almost like a imagine like if you had like a projector out of your head, and like over time, as like I'll get like a fuzzy image of it, and then I'll go and take reference, and I'll start working, and then over time the projection will start getting more and more into focus until you get to the end of the painting and you're like, oh wow, okay bro, this is exactly what I was thinking about. And then other times I'll get really inspired by like music or film. Like I think like there's often times where I like hear a song while I'm doing something or while I'm talking to somebody, and it'll just speak to me, and I'm like, yo, I have to make a film based off of this, or I have to make a painting that like captures the emotion that this other person. And I feel like with that sort of way, it's almost like a collaboration with another person, because I felt so connected to this person, to the rhythm of this person's soul, by like hearing it in this song or seeing it in this movie, that I want to play something that goes along with it. And then like it's almost like this big like opera or something like that if you work with enough people, and hopefully whatever you make is like beautiful enough that people will look at it and they'll think to themselves, dang, I want to make something, or this sounds so beautiful, you know? Yeah.
So thank you for that. I think it's always interesting to learn a little bit more about how people go about what they're doing.
Yeah, no, because it's so different for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, you feel like you use that. Why do you use that?
Yeah, like, what are you talking? Yeah, no, yeah.
Like, you know, I'm stealing that. I mean, like I said, like I've said it in this podcast a few times, you know, it may not be the same thing, right? But I think in terms of like sort of inspiration and things of that sort, it's like I may get something from someone's sensibility, like how they approach their work, and it's like, let's steal that and work that into a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, yeah, TOSKAGO said that. I'm like, so when you blow up, I'm like, yeah.
No, you're too sweet.
I got him early in the game, you know. He's just, you know, he's just talking about, you know, some of these experiences. You
knew the OG way before anybody. So how does he do this? Yeah,
no,
never.
It's only Prada that he wears.
No, I'm like LeBron with it. I'm the kid from Akron, bro. I'm the kid from
uh,
Ol'Kalou, for real. He always do that. He's always tagging that. I love that, man.
I just want to be a funky art dude, just like,
Yeah,
just like,
exactly. Yeah.
like unwashed Carhartt. That's just what I'm doing at these days.
Yes. I want you to know it's about the art, man. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. Basquiat, like wearing the worst suit in history. Like he just got this from the thrift store, but he's that guy. I'm like, yeah, I love you, bro. Without his shoes on, yeah. You're that guy. But
So, what would you say are some of the techniques that you've learned in this sort of pursuit and this growth, and when you're working on some of your more recent work or what have you, like,
mhm.
you know, as I was telling you before I got started, I'm like kind of modifying, how I'm going about like conducting an interview. Like, sure, me doing the whole, hey, here's the introduction, unless someone has like a crazy ego and it's like, look, I need all my credentials.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Please,
was
you
like,
need to
no,
know everything I've ever done.
let's get right into the actual crux, the meat of the
Yeah,
conversation. And I think that there's more value there versus this sort of weighty introduction. And,
because you
it's
can
not
read that.
it's
Yeah,
not a
like,
besmirchment of anyone, and it's going to be in there in the finished product anyway.
yeah, exactly.
So what sort of techniques do you like as you continually like improve and get better and better through your process as a creator, as an artist? Like, how do you continually like sharpen that saw and kind of improve upon your technique and your approaches to your work?
I think for me, a lot of it has to do with like if I were going to, oh man, because I love using like metaphor or simile or something like that.
Sure.
That's really how I talk. If I were gonna like reference it to something else, like it'd probably be like a show. You know what I mean? Like when you have like a musical show and then there's like a dress rehearsal.
Mhm.
I feel like for me in my art, the way that I've really grown is through just the final performance. Like I'm not really that big of a sketcher. Like there's a lot of artists that I know that I'm friends with that love like they gotta make a underpainting, they gotta make 2-3 paintings to get the colors right before they start the big one. But for me, I'm like, no, I gotta do this and I gotta get it right this one time. You know what I mean? And I think that sort of pressure that I put on that, because for me it doesn't feel like pressure, but there is pressure to it because it's like, well, okay, I know that I'm not gonna make another painting after this that looks like this. Like I gotta get this right, or else nobody's gonna like it. You know what I mean? Or else it's not gonna illustrate whatever I'm trying to go for.
Yeah.
I think that leaning more into that has really helped me with like my paintings and being a lot more confident with like my ideas or the way that I'm applying the work, and also to be more experimental with my stuff. Because at first I used to have like a little anxiety about it because I'm like, dang, I'm not even testing this out before I do it. Like, this could turn out terrible. But now I've learned like, and this is so corny, but it's so real. You really gotta believe in yourself, dog. Like that's like people will tell. I've heard that advice so many times. I'm like, bro, okay, yeah, bro, of course, bro. You know what I mean? But like, straight up, when you really like, you're telling yourself during the piece, like, yo, man, I'm not scared, bro. I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna turn out amazing. Like, it's gonna turn out amazing. I'm gonna do a good job right now. Instead of like, oh man, I don't know how to do this. This is gonna be terrible. You set your mind up to fail because you're already preparing yourself up to fail. But if you do the opposite of that, you're like, oh man, this isn't hard. Why am I making this more arduous? And then your brain will be like, yeah, hands, yeah, brain, yeah, sensors. We're doing great right now. Like, this is going to be amazing. People are going to love it. It's going to make people cry. You know, that's how amazing it is. But I think like that's really what's helped me with like, that's really one of the techniques that I've learned over the course of like my time painting, just being more self-assured, and that being the key to like making more provoking imagery, you know?
I think part of it when you're putting out work that has a component where people are consuming it.
Yeah.
And there's always like, what if someone doesn't like it? But it gets you away from why you might be doing it.
Exactly.
And I think the other thing that's a part of it, it's almost like the sort of performance art component, right? Where someone goes on stage, unless they know exactly the way this thing is supposed to go, they don't know if you screwed up or not. So
yeah, that took me the longest time. Like I remember I used to edit videos too, or like edit movies or something to like show the world my stuff. And I remember being really like, dang, because I show my brother everything. I'm like, yo, dog, do you like this? And I was like, man, do you think like I should take a better picture of this painting? And he's like, bro, I don't even know the difference. Like, what are you talking about right now? And that really clicked in me. Like, Bro, nobody. I'm showing people the first time this is ever gonna be shown. They don't know that this could be anything else other than what I'm showing. Why am I tripping over this so hard? And
Yeah.
then like, and then I was like, yeah, you're right, Doug. And I just posted it, like, yeah, because I'm like, that really woke me up because it made me realize that I was in my head way too much about this, like, because you know the peak that it could be like there's like a slight grain difference in this like one
Yeah.
frame,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, this is terrible. People are gonna be like, yo, TOSKAGO, you saw that one like grain difference in scene one.
I do the same thing when it comes to any of these episodes. Like when I first got into the whole podcast thing, I was doing all the editing on my own,
Yeah,
and I would go in and I'm looking for every gap,
yeah,
every pause, and to have a very polished thing. And I'm sure schematically I could go from like a data background. That's
yeah.
what I do. I can go through like, all right, look for anything that has this and trim it down to something less, and maybe I'll shave off 10 seconds. But it's like, no, that's not how
Yeah,
conversations actually
yeah,
happen. So it's
exactly,
getting it further away from what the intent of the actual work is.
exactly. I feel like
So
we can get so lost into it. Yeah.
yeah. So I got one more last real question or what have you,
Mhm.
because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention seeing the MICA thing in there, what have you, having that as a part of your background. So
Yeah.
talk about, being a part of the Baltimore art scene, what have you, being around in this sort of like larger community, and like what sort of like influence, impact has that had like on you as a person, as an artist, as a creative?
I think like, oh, like Baltimore, because when I moved to America, the first place that I moved to was I think we moved to New York for a little bit, and then we ended up living in Indiana for a while. So moving here to Baltimore, the art scene is so much more fleshed out. Like it's just such a bigger city than Indiana. Like, bro, like Indiana, like, yeah, I know. Not to, okay. I'm not, okay, shout out to anybody who's from Indiana. I hope they can understand. No, I don't like Indiana that much.
Oof.
I like the people there. Like, I met like a lot of great people, but the space is terrible, especially for art.
I mean, we love
Like,
hearing that when the Colts left from Baltimore to Indianapolis. We love it.
yeah.
Yeah, more Indianapolis shade. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's what I'm saying. Indiana's also like the birthplace of the KKK. Like, bro, it's not. Yeah, yeah. Indiana's crazy.
We're out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Like I know you saw that night painting I made, bro. Like with
Yeah, yeah.
the him over top of the KKK. That was for
I dug
Indiana
that. I dug
specifically.
that. It was fire.
Yeah. Um, but like moving here, just being in a lot larger of an art community, I think that's helped me out because I've been able to see like, okay, I'm not the only young person doing stuff. And then like because that's something that I learned during like competitions, but I wasn't really into it because I'm like, this is a competition. I know there's other young people who won, but I've never seen these people in my entire life, so I don't know if you really exist for real. Like you're just a name attached to this painting to me right now. But eventually when I moved here and I met like other people who are like making work or who have like similar goals or something, it's been really inspiring. And I think that I've met like a lot of good people who are that comes along with just having a larger art community is people who are like mentors in some sort of way who've been in the place that you are in some sort of respect and are able to provide you with information on like how to navigate this or how to go about it, like you interviewed Jeffrey Kent. Like Jeffrey Kent, I love that guy. Like he's helped me with so much stuff. Like he put me on to a lot of like different knowledge about art, and even like professors here that I've had at MICA or like other artists in the city. Like I feel like I like spending a lot more time in Baltimore proper, like meeting artists who are there rather than in my university, because I feel like that's like it's a whole different biome. Is there are people who go to school who are just scared to even go around Baltimore because they've never been around and they're like, oh man, I don't want to go up by the avenue. Like there's people up there, and I'm like, man, nah, you tripping, you tripping, you tripping. I like just being out in the atmosphere, really gaining knowledge about where I'm at and who's making stuff where I'm at and how we can work together. Like yeah, there's some really dope artists I met, like Monica Kikuyu or Marjani and stuff like, or just people that I know here at school too. Like yeah.
You mentioned some interesting names there. Shout out to Jeffrey. Shout out to Monica. Yeah.
Yeah, I know like
Yeah.
Monica and painted you. I peeped that. I was like,
Oh,
oh, little connection. I like it. Yeah.
I love seeing myself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, in
history, buddy.
2023, I'm going to be part of the art.
Not in 3003. You better be. They better be. Man, you know this guy. You know he's real famous.
I can see it now. It's like the Rob is in this art.
The Rob, yes. I
Yo.
love it. Yeah, I love it.
All right. So in these last moments here, I want to circle on to the rapid fire portion.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how this goes. You listened to this podcast before.
Yeah.
So, but you don't have the question, so that's great. That means true. It works.
That's true.
All right. We've talked about words a bit in here, right? That was the thing. We talked about the power words and all of that good stuff. So I got 2 word related questions.
Okay.
What is a word that you use too much?
Sorry. I feel like I apologize too much. After sentences, I'll say something, I'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I need to be more confident in what I'm talking about. Yeah, I feel like that's
never say sorry, never lost.
Yeah, never lost.
Okay, that was good. It's good. What do you believe to be the most powerful word in any language, right? Since you have the sort of like a polyglot background. So what is the most powerful word in any language?
Most powerful word in any language.
Any languages that you speak. You speak 1,000 of them. We'll go. So.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like I'll pick English because that's what we're talking right now. I feel like the strongest word is it has to be either love or hate. Like, I know you said one word, but I feel like those are probably the 2 strongest because like when you say you love something or like you say that you hate something, there's so much behind that that gives that a lot of power. Even people who say that they love everything. Like if you say that you love everything, the moment that you say that you hate something, that gives it so much more power because you're like, dang, this person loves everything in the world, but this is something that they particularly don't like for some reason or whatever. Yeah. I think you can tell a lot about somebody by the things that they enjoy or the things that they dislike,
It's a bit out there from a comedian that is kind of redacted because he got canceled for being goofy, but he had this thing about like, we just use these sort of top shelf words. It's like, oh my God, that person's hilarious. It's like, oh, really? Hilarious? They made you like go insane. They were so funny. It's like, I'm sure she's not hilarious. I'm sure she's not in this bit. And I think that's again another thing that we go for these sort of top shelf sort of words and really don't think of the impact of words. We just throw something out there and let that be the thing, and people don't really get it. So even if you look at sort of in my standpoint, I guess, in the appreciation of art and consideration of art, if we can't even use the word to try to relay the message or the feeling of whatever we're doing. What does that say about how art is appreciated, how art is interpreted?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a lot of art discourse or a lot of art analyzation that people have is very top shelf. Like there are people who will like speak about art just to be speaking about it. Like they're like, the colors are very colorful. Like, bro, what are you talking about right now? Like, what do you? Or
this
like,
work is reminiscent of the Eskimo,
yes,
the Inuit Rob from earlier.
Oh my gosh, yes. This reminds me a lot of the performance artist Henry, who's known as Rob.
Some of his early work, before he really sold out and was wearing Prada every day.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
So okay. What is your favorite color?
Favorite color, blue.
Okay. How many hours of sleep do you get on average?
Ooh,
I got to do the self-check thing for the artists out there.
When I'm working on something, when I'm working on something, bro, I'm not even gonna lie, like it's like 4 hours. Sometimes I hope my mom isn't listening. Sometimes
see how I turned to Dad Rob right there, right?
I was gonna say,
see the look on my face is like.
Sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I stay up like 24 hours just like in the stew because I sleep where like I paint. So that's honestly something maybe that I should change because like it'll help me get out of the sleep. But like I know myself, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, dang, there's something I could have changed about that painting. I gotta get to it. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, it's right there. Let me just, you know what I mean? Yeah, but
where you see me recording that right now, this is in the home studio, right? And sometimes when it's like let's say inevitably you have like an instance where it's like, all right, that didn't go as well, or I was hoping for a different conversation or a better conversation, or have you.
Yeah.
I will just stay in the studio, go to sleep. I'll just like be in the studio.
Exactly.
And I feel like, it's those days happen when you do back to back to back to back, just, going a little too hard, and you're almost in the place so you can save whatever that time is from commuting.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for understanding. Because I'm like, bro, if I'm about to go to bed and then I think to myself, dang, I really messed up like that person's cheek. That cheek does not look like a regular cheek. I am not gonna walk 20 minutes to my studio, right? If this is right in front of my face, I'm waking up and I'm fixing that. I mean, I would walk 20 minutes, but I'm like, I'd rather not. It's 3 a.m. right now. Like, I'm in the city where like maybe this isn't the best idea. So,
speaking of which, being in the city, right? What is your favorite spot for whatever, whether it be food, whether it be to hang, whether it be for inspiration? Like, I like to just wander different parts, especially if it's a place that I've not been in a while. You see different things, you see, different people around. And I like to be around like schools, like colleges or what have you, because
there's a lot of different people.
People are, it's a lot of different people. There's this sort of transitory thing that's going on, but also people are kind of learning, and there's collaboration, there's a certain energy there. And I get inspiration from that. That's one of the areas I like. I might pop over there past MICA. I might pop over there to like Morgan, and I'll just see different things. So for you, what is a place you like to go that, either it feeds your soul, whether it feeds you literally or feeds you like personally?
I'm going to say that my favorite. Okay. Can I do another two? I'm sorry.
Please, you got to.
Like
no. Okay, no sorries here. No more sorries.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Never sorry. Never apologize. But I think my favorite place is probably like, this is transient, but I really like the bus. Like, I really like taking the bus or the metro places, because since I'm a portrait artist, or like I do figurative work and everything like that, it's always really dope. Like being able to go on the bus, like look out the window, see something, like see buildings or see landscapes or things that I really like, or just interact with different people. Like, just even if I'm like just chilling, if I see, there's always somebody really interesting on the bus, you know what I mean? Like, or on the metro, like there's always a bunch of different people. And then you think to yourself, like, dang, this person is also here right now. Like, what got them to this point? Why are they here, and where are they going? What are they going to do after this? And that really helps me like tap into like that storytelling aspect of my artwork, because it's like, I'm trying to create that empathy in people when they see like this painting and they're like, oh, this came from some other human being's mind. It's kind of like providing people with that dignity of understanding, like, okay, you have other things that you're doing. You have a whole life that led you to this moment, and we are intersecting here, and we might never meet again, but like in this moment, we shared that space if we're conscious of it. Because this person, they'll probably never remember this. They're probably just chilling on the bus, but I'm over here like I'm trying to be 1 million IQ thinking about it, but I'm like, this is really, and it gets me in the mood to go to the studio, and I'm like, dang, I really want to capture this. I really want to create some connection with people the way that I just felt with this random person that I don't know. Or even when you strike up a conversation with some old person, like, old people love talking about stuff, man, and I love that.
Old people.
Yes.
Old people, he said. Oh, yes.
No, and I'm not, okay, I hope you're not thinking I'm talking about you. I'm talking about old, like, you're 70. God. I feel like I'm talking about old, like you're 70. No. You're young, okay? I hope you understand. No. Shout out to all the 70-year-olds. I hope you don't take offense to that. You're the 70-year-olds in your audience. I love you guys.
They're the highest moving demographic within the podcast.
Dang, I didn't know.
Okay.
You're really big in retirement homes, yeah.
Yo, they give you that, and then they give you your meds and whatever. Exactly. It's just there. So here's the pamphlets, and here's the truth in the side.
Yeah, you do your performances there. Yeah,
100%. You got to entertain the folks. Actually, that is a thing I used to do as a kid, by the way.
Oh, I used to do that too. Yeah. Like on the weekend, my mom would drop me off there. Thank you for relating on that, because that was surreal. I'm like, dang, these old people, I'm really performing for them, like, because I used to play violin. But anyway, the other spot it's food related. I really, really like, okay, there's this Asian spot. It's called Paul Chen. They sell Chinese food.
Yeah.
But like, I really, really like this like slushy, this like smoothie slushy that they I don't know.
You've definitely stamped what part of town you're in, because I know that place.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yo, I be in there. Sometimes they take a while to make it, but it's so worth it because I'm just after that, I'm like drinking it, I'm walking home, I'm like, yeah. Yeah,
That's
this
it.
is life. I'm definitely gonna if I take it home with me, if I'm painting and I'm super tired on one of these 24-hour
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm drinking it, I'm like, yeah, I can do this. This is it gives me the energy, yeah.
Uh,
Not
uh,
sponsored, but shout out to Paul Chen, yeah.
I used to go there regularly and just overindulge, and I'm like, yo,
Yeah, because they have good prices.
I
Yeah.
haven't properly like ordered a meal unless I get like that wild bag of like chicken on a stick.
Yeah, you know.
It's just like, yo,
Thank
I'm
you.
out here. It's like, yo,
Thank
what?
you.
And for those, I'm sorry, I'll get like the wild pork fried rice. It's like, look,
Yeah,
this
it's
is just what it
so
is.
good.
This
And
is
they
just what
give
it
you
is,
so
guys.
much fried rice. I'm like, yo, this is a lot of food for whatever amount of money. Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
100%. So this is the
Mm-hmm.
last one I got to ask you.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, what does TOSKAGO mean?
Okay, TOSKAGO. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So TOSKAGO, it's actually a funny story. I was just really quickly. I was like in a barber shop with my friends or whatever, and my last name is my government last name is Mbuguah, Martin Mbuguah, but it's Mbug, which is very difficult to pronounce if you are not from East Africa because an M and a B next to each other, that looks crazy, right? Like how do you even pronounce that? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And I've had to deal with that my whole life. Like people call me Boogaloo. Like it's crazy
Oh,
the types of things called like people
Martin
with
Electric
accent.
Boogaloo.
Yes. Dude, I used to do speech and some announcer called me up for an award and they were like, Martin Boogaloo. I'm like, I know I'm the only Martin in this room. You could just say that and I would know that you're talking to me. But anyway, yeah, so I'm telling my friend like at this barbershop, like, yo, I do art now. Like this was because I started painting whatever, like 4 or 5 years ago, right? So I'm like, yo, I do art now. And his friend's like, "Oh yeah, what's your Instagram or whatever?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Martin Mbuguah Art," and he's like, "How do you spell that?" And I'm like, yeah, it's like MB," and he's like, "Yeah, nah, man, I'm gonna tell you to cut it off right now." I'm like,
That
what are
ain't
you
it.
talking?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's too hard, man. I don't know what you're talking about." Like, bro, you explaining that to me, I just forgot how to do it, right? And UGUH, I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I love. See, this is why I love like growing up in a hood because like people are so honest with you. I'm like, I'm getting this cut, this dude, because and I really can't even say anything back because bro, he's not gonna. I'm not trying to get my hair cut like messed up or whatever. Yeah, so I'm like, dog, you need to come up with a better name. So I right when I'm there, I'm like, okay, what's a better name? I end up finding the word Toska,
Yeah.
which is like Toshka. It's like a Russian word. And
Yeah.
there's this like really beautiful quote about it and how like it's one of those words that's not directly translatable into English. Like it has a lot more meanings to it. And like at the highest heights it means something like a deep sense of longing and it's at lowest lows it's like nostalgia or boredom or something.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by the idea that one thing could capture so much. Like depending on how you say this, you could be exercising the most meaningful conversation that you've ever had and the most intense phrase that you could, or it could be something regular or lame, like, and it doesn't really mean that much. And that word really inspired me and I'm like, dang, I really want to go with this word Toshka. Like I want to do that with my art. I want each of these pieces to be able to capture so much to so many different people. And then I want because TOSKAGO is the name of the entire story too. Because it's not like just my name, but like all of these pieces and these films are like interconnected or whatever, like cinematic universe or whatever. But all of it at the end of my life or whatever, because I'm gonna be making it till whatever how old I am until I die, I guess. At the end of it, it's gonna be like a big self-portrait, like okay, this is who you were in this moment. Like, okay, this is who you were when you were interacting with Henry, the famous performance artist, also known as Rob Lee, the podcaster. Then people can look back on that and experience those moments and see the type of emotions you were having at that time, right? And then the go at the end, TOSKAGO, was just to remember, like, okay, man, at the end of the day, at the end of it, you have to keep going until you achieve those dreams, that goal that you have, of being able to embody that idea of art, that idea of storytelling too, with your art piece and everything. Yeah.
That's great. I like that you broke that down for us. TOSKAGO.
TOSKAGO. Yeah.
So in that vein, I feel like words and the power of words have been a big theme here. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I know, as a visual artist, it's crazy.
Well, different conversations, and it gives you some context.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I want to thank you for being on this podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to invite and encourage you to share with the folks where they can check you out, your work, website, social media, all of that good stuff. The floor is yours.
You guys can follow me or add me on anything under the name TOSKAGO. So like I have Instagram TOSKAGO. I have a TikTok too if you want to go there. It's also at TOSKAGO. I have a website, toskago.com. That's more professional. Yeah. I should have noted that first. I also have a Twitter, but I don't use it. But those are my main ones. Like if you want to find me, just honestly, if you Google TOSKAGO, you'll probably find me. Yeah.
That's what I did.
Literally. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, perfect.
Well, there you have it, folks. I want to again thank TOSKAGO for coming onto the podcast. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, culture, just power words in and around your neck of the woods. You just have to look for it.